There he is. Okay. And Michael, we do have a hand up.
Okay. And, well, I've been trying to conference in with someone. Nene had wanted to share something, and I've been trying to get her connected, but it seems that whenever I put her in line,
her number and I'll do an invite.
Disconnects. Okay.
I'll try to do it that way from the switchboard.
Okay, remember she can't call in from her phone. So we have to call her. So I don't know. Let's go ahead and answer the call that we've got on
okay.
With our hand up.
Roma is on. 808, you're on the air.
Hey there, young lady. Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. But I'd fill
How
in
are you?
Space. Well, things are getting better. But, the fire in Maui was on the other side of the island from me.
Right.
You know, life seems normal here, but it's not. There's a kind of strange, I don't know, there's a strange feeling, and it's different every day. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, there's so much trauma that I'd imagine that that energy is going to be in the air. For anyone who doesn't know, Roma lives on Maui and is calling from Maui right now, where all the fires were, and it's just horrendous. I haven't heard a recent update, but
it's a weird feeling of it's almost like a dizzy feeling, and it's different every day. It's just strange. But
really?
Yeah. But
and how are you doing personally?
Oh, well, I turned 80 on July 11th. Oh my gosh, and it was
Happy Eternal Day.
Yeah.
We've been hanging out for a long time.
Yeah, I've been on this program with you for 35 years.
Well, 12 years on the radio show.
Oh, yeah.
But
right.
for many years before that, it's got to be getting, close to 30, or maybe a little better than 30?
Maybe 30
since your first time to...
Yeah. I first encountered you. You were a guest speaker at the Unity Village, and I was working there as a local soloist for the Sunday services. And
right.
That was when I met you, and it totally changed my life, Michael.
Well, glad to be on the team and just doing my job.
Yeah, right. But, it's interesting that you created a job that nobody else on the planet was doing. I'm grateful for that.
So am I. I am, when I look back over the years, it's kind of like it was partially accident and partially, I was just moved into it without even making the choice. So I am deeply appreciative of the fact that...
obvious to me that it was divine guidance that put you where you are, made you available and made this teaching available. And I'm really, really grateful for it.
Awesome.
It's a beautiful day. Skies sunny and blue and bright, and so I just thought I'd call in. Hopefully your other caller is available now. So
all right, young lady, appreciate you and holding the space, extending love to everybody in Hawaii with all that's gone down. It's been
it's pretty traumatic,
a tragic occurrence.
Really,
pretty bizarre. And I've been doing more research on, the reasons why and what has happened. Why did Lahaina in particular get into the kind of dry conditions it was in? It seems like there are a lot of circumstances that are being reviewed by people in hope that the outcome is the highest and best, especially for the Native Hawaiian people.
Yeah, I mean, the whole island is pretty dry. I mean, highway coming.
Yeah.
I live up to it. You drive down the mountain to go to the, to go to Costco.
Right.
It was pretty dry. So I mean, grass was not green; it was yellow. And
right.
But it's green up here where I live.
Good.
There were
Good.
fires up. There were like 4 fires going on at the same time simultaneously. It was really pretty strange.
Really. Well, holding the space.
Yeah. I think we're harvesting global warming now. So, anyway, God bless everybody, and we're fine here. We're recovering.
All right. Take care. Blessings. Bye-bye. Okay. Well, let me check and see. Nene, are you with us?
I am here. I'm with you.
Oh, awesome. Hey there, young lady. A little bit of technical difficulty, but we made it. And I got a text from Nene. Some of you may recognize Nene Ortega and may not, but she's been doing this work for about a dozen years now and sent me a celebratory text this morning. And I won't share what she said, and I'm going to leave that for her to share. So tell me about what's happening, Nene.
Oh, good afternoon, everybody. Very happy to be here at My Sister's Radio. Well, I texted Michael because I reached my 5,000th worksheet last night, in 12 years. That it's about 34 worksheets a month for 12 years. And I'm very happy. It's been, the more I do it, it has a deeper and a more fantastic experience, insight.
That's pretty amazing. Tell us about how that's impacted you.
Well, it has, first of all, it releases this away, and that Shabbat process of breaking with the repetitive mind has given me a lot of healing. It's been a process, and I've had all the experiences of all the symptoms, and it's loving the truth and all the symptoms of healing. And many, many new goals that I've written there, they've been, they came through. You know, they manifested. Not immediately, some very fast, others in time, but in overall, my relationship with myself and with my internal being, that supreme being inside, it's stronger. It is indeed.
Tell me about, Nene, how you started this work and how you first were attracted to it.
I remember it was 2011 at the Center for Spiritual Living, Fort Lauderdale. It was January 2nd or 3rd or 4th, very early. And because I've been always interested in growing and the healing, I read that you were coming, and I attended the workshop, and I was amazed and happy, impressed with the clarity of the process of the information you were given, because there were many things that I knew, but I never had any other person talking about it. And from the first worksheet, I remember that feeling of releasing a grudge, releasing a little pain, the internal dialogue of that repetitive mind. So I continued, and I remember I was one of the first people who did the 5 worksheets, 40 days. I remember the first. I was one of the first challenges, and then I remember you had that year. You came to Florida several times, and I drove wherever you were. And
you became a groupie.
Yeah. Yes.
Cool. Well, you know, one of the things that I like to think about when you come to mind is that session that we did in Miami where I taught the course in English and simultaneously you taught the course in Spanish. That was really pretty amazing.
It was pretty amazing. Yeah.
I've only ever done that one other time, and that was with a Tibetan master who taught it in Tibetan while I taught it in English. We did a similar process to what you and I did back then.
Yeah.
And that's got to be 11 years ago now.
11 years ago, I remember that. And one of the ideas that stayed with me, Michael, is once you explain that it's not, thinking positive is not enough. You have to dismantle. You have to go in direct relationship with that part of you that has been hidden to truly clean it up and then naturally flow in the positive, constructive mode, I would say.
Right. Yes, that disease of premature positive thinking is definitely not the answer. Positive thinking is certainly a wonderful thing, but if I do it prematurely and I don't deal with the underlying dynamics, then I'm just reinforcing the quote-unquote negative with my positive thinking. So, yeah, that intermediate step is so important to do. You're right on track with that.
Yes, I always keep that in mind. And last night I was watching a series, and I had a thought in my mind of an internal uncomfort. Immediately, I took my pen and paper, my book, and I did the number, 5,000, and it really clears my mind. And it is an overall wellness, overall feeling of release, really very peaceful, serenity. And the other thing, I remember when I took the course for the teaching training.
Teacher training. Why is this happening to me again? Yeah.
It was fantastic. It really, for me, it was life-changing, transforming. I remember that. And then I never ate again the way I used to. And I was already starting to be a vegetarian. But I also truly, completely believe in the raw eating and then, the benefits we have with eating differently.
Right.
That also has had a great impact. As a matter of fact, I just finished writing a book about superior food, superior eating habits. It has really been very comforting, and more than that, very healing and very empowering.
So when you came to Heartland, was that your first introduction to eating total, fresh, and raw?
Yes.
Like we did during the intensive?
Yes.
And what was your progression from there? I mean, did you instantly shift over to total, fresh, and raw, which is pretty rare?
Well, I would say maybe 70%.
Mm-hmm.
70%, yes. And, and throughout these years, the more I work on myself, the meditation, the Shabbat, the mind shifters, exercise, all that, I am closer and closer to more fruits and fresh vegetables. Sometimes I go, I visit some coffee shops, and then I look at the breads and all that, and I can't believe I used to eat that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't even remember it exists. Truly. It's like,
shock yourself, eh? That's cool.
Shock.
So your book.
Yeah.
Now your book, is it going to be published in English or just in Spanish?
Well, I wrote it in Spanish because I really want to support the Hispanic and Spanish population culture.
Right.
Into this, with this. Yeah, it's in Spanish.
And
I can express myself better, even though I learn in English. For me, it's easier to write in Spanish.
Right. Now, did you include a section on forgiveness in your book?
I did.
Awesome.
Actually, it's called Shabbat, the Code of Superior Nutrition. That would be the title in English. Shabbat, the code Shabbat. Shabbat, the code, like the Da Vinci Code.
Right.
The Shabbat Code of Superior Nutrition.
Cool.
And I read many books, not only your books of forgiveness, but only the Rita, remember? Rita Romano.
Rita Romano. Mm-hmm.
Rita Romano, and many other, Furman, Dr. Hyman, Dr. Amy, many people, and they all, come into the benefits of eating raw, eating fresh vegetable. How do you improve your life, and also the planet, the impact you have on the planet,
right,
and on the spiritual energy and everything, and really empowers you to have a different vitality. Definitely. It is.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of videos, I think, on our website, on our YouTube channel, where we did the why workshop in Spanish, and then you did some work with it through another group. And so it's a delight to just see how you've picked it up in your world, and especially I'm so appreciative of you bringing it into the Spanish culture, bringing it into other countries. It's just awesome. I'm just, delighted and honored that you picked it up, and it's amazing, and it's a delight to see what you've done with it, how you've shared it with others. It's just fabulous.
Thank you. So I still have every other week. I'm going to forward you the invitation in Spanish, so you can add it in your web. It's called Shabbat meditation. I also have that every other Saturday. Right. And I've had groups of 10, 12 people from different Spain, Mexico, Venezuela, United States. It's in Spanish. So it's almost a year and a half now, and very nice. And some people get really, you have to do it. Like you want to shape your body and your legs and your tummy, you have to do those sit-ups, or or do whatever you have to do. You have to do the work.
Now, are you doing those on video?
Yes, they are on YouTube. Yes, I videoed the meditation. Yes, I do.
Cool. Well, if you'd like, we'd be happy to post some of them on our YouTube channel, and put links to them on the website. And it's just fabulous to see it happening.
Yes.
And are you still planning to move to Venezuela? Is that still in your your thinking?
Yes, I've been doing a lot of worksheets about it, because there's always something. But let's see, if I had 8 different goals for me to go to, that I have to reach before leaving, and I think in number 5. I have 3 more goals to complete, things to complete, so I can move back. Yes.
Right.
Still, yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what kind of time frame does that look like?
I would say 6 more months.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so
congratulations. That's pretty fabulous. So.
Yeah. Thank
and
you.
you will have to make sure to stay in communication with us from there, and keep us posted on how it's going. And by the way, when Nene is saying the word Shabbat, if you're not familiar with it, if you're not familiar with the Aramaic term, the word that's been translated from Aramaic by the Greeks into the word forgiveness is the word Shabbat or Shabak. And it literally means to cancel, and recognizing that it's goals that drive perception, and when you cancel goals, perception collapses, and you get to look at what's underneath it, and there's where the healing work is done. So cleaning up the mind.
Yes. And Michael, I want to add that we always talk about this, that whenever I have a Shabbat, I always have a theme for the Shabbat meditation. Like tomorrow is going to be mindfulness, to be completely present in your life. And
right.
The other day was how to, be more productive using your time, time management, things like that. And then I asked when we start, I said, in the chat, because it's via Zoom, I said, please in the chat write a goal or something that you have been difficulties or comes back. So people tell me, I want this and that. It's usually I have done that worksheet before, or it's a thing. It also concerns me. It's so hilarious.
That law of resonance, right, in what you draw to you?
Yes. Yes, yes. It's amazing every time.
You know, one of the, and I'm sure I've shared this thought with you before, but one of the things over the years that I've shared with people who want to teach is, and especially every people are like, well, I'm going to travel and teach like you do. It's like, no, wait, stay home, work through what's going to come up with the people that you resonate into your space before you get on the road, because it's expensive to do it on the road. Do it at home where it's cheaper, and you get that practice in place before you you move to the level where you're paying the expenses of being on the road while you're learning to teach. So, because there's no question about it. Whatever we haven't worked through, we're going to attract somebody who's going to play it out with us, and it's definitely
and these are people, Michael, that come for the first time. A friend of a friend told me about that, and I see them for the first time, and I say, please write, your concern, what's the goal you want to reach, and blah, blah. And it's amazing. It's the energies, and like we are a bunch of neutrons, electrons, and protons, all of, each one. So it doesn't matter where you are. You explained that once in your course.
Quantum physics works.
Quantum physics. Yes.
And on the level where we're creators, that's what needs to be understood. So, well, congratulations, 5,000 worksheets in 12 years. That's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Very happy. And we continue.
All right. Well, keep us posted, young lady. Any other thoughts for you today before we go?
Well, I just invite everybody to go and check that worksheet. You have different ones. I have one that is I called it Shabbat Express. It's only 7 steps. That's the one I recommend to start. And then you have the longer one with the 12 steps. So no matter in the level where you are there right now, go for it. Take your pen and paper and start doing the worksheets, because it's really your responsibility as a creator. You can't change many. You can change.
Yes. And what's the name of your book again in Spanish?
El Código Shabbat Alimentación Superior.
Okay. And when are you expecting it's going to be published? Are you going to have it on Amazon or?
Yeah, both in October.
Awesome.
Yeah, in October. Yeah.
Well, perhaps when it comes out in October, we can do a call. We can talk about it on the radio show and introduce it to our audience and see what support we can be in getting it out there and making it available.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Yes.
Cool. Sweet.
Okay.
All right, young lady.
Nene, I just went over and looked, for those who don't know, we have a whole page on Spanish, and a lot of the worksheets are translated by Nene. And I just looked, and I've got your 7-step, but I don't have your 12-step. If you'll send that to me in a PDF format, I'll put it out on that page as well.
Sure, most certainly.
And we do have one of your meditations and the YouTube link on the Spanish page too. So
okay, I will forward you the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's been very cool. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining and sharing your celebration with us. That's just awesome. There's one other time I was actually on the road in Florida. I was in a restaurant, and a businessman, his suit and tie, came over to me and said, "You're Michael Ryce, aren't you?" I said, "Yes." And he reached in his pocket, and he had 8.5 by 11 sheets folded in half in his inside jacket pocket. And I remember him pulling out his worksheet and putting it in front of my face. And he was on worksheet, I remember the number, it was on worksheet number 1831. That goes back, 25 years ago in Florida. So it's nice to hear that 5,000 mark reached and rocking on. That's just
rocking on.
Awesome. All right, young lady, you have a blessed one.
Yeah,
appreciate
so
you.
Do you. Hugs.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Well, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, for sure.
That Danae has stayed with the tools. 5,000 worksheets in 12 years. Pretty awesome. Maybe if you're out there in listener land, you might just, hit one and tell us where you're at with your worksheet process. What number are you on? Are you keeping track with your worksheet? We've got that spot for people to put the number in it. Have you been keeping track? And if so, how many have you done? And what's the impact been? What's happening in your world? Beyond that, Miss Jeanie, do we have anybody else on the phone with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
No, but I did get a email from a lady, and
cool.
She said, I have been on the last 3 calls with Yinka's Book Club, and I've been on several radio shows, but I'm always on the go, and it's difficult for me to call in and ask questions. She's listening today.
Right.
Situation's very stressful and so much weight on my shoulders. I have a few questions I need your help with. I'm a single mom. I have a 13-year-old son who's diagnosed with autism when he was 2. He's nonverbal for the most part, and now that hormones are kicking in, his behaviors are sometimes extremely aggressive and are getting intense with physical aggression towards me at times and destruction of property, broken windows, holes in the wall. I'm grateful for my best friend Julia. She's been on the show multiple times. And I found you through Alexandra in the book club because I know this is the missing link to helping my son through the challenge of autism and all the limits it puts on their lives. I know this is my life purpose to see this challenge through for my son as well as all the other families that were meant to live life without special needs limitations. First of all, I need tips on how to stay in the place of love when I'm physically in altercations with my son and trying to stay safe and get him in a position on the floor so he can't attack me and so that he is also safe. He's already an inch taller than me. He's 5'10", extremely strong, and when he has meltdowns, he tries to kick, hit, punch me. He screams so loud and high-pitched, it's like something from a horror movie. And it goes right through me, wakes me up, usually at 3 or 4 a.m. half of the time, screaming and pounding on the walls. How can I possibly handle this by staying in love and raising his vibration to mine when his behaviors, screaming, and physical combat are so intense it rocks me to the core? I practice at less extreme moments, but at times when it gets really intense, I feel like it doesn't matter how much I have practiced. It's not possible to not be rocked by this extreme behavior. I get so mad when he destroys things because I have to work 3 jobs as it is just to pay the bills and keep food on the table. So when he puts holes in things and breaks the remote and other things, then it costs more money to waste fixing and replacing things. Any advice you could offer is greatly appreciated. Thank you for doing this work and teaching the truth about the process of forgiveness. It's definitely making a huge difference in our lives for the most part. I just need help to handle things better when my son's behavior is at the most extreme. I'll be on the call today listening online. My phone connectivity at my house is choppy, so I thought it would be better to email you the situation and question instead of trying to call in live. Thanks again for everything you guys do. I love and appreciate you much. Karen.
Well, Karen, the first thing I'll offer is just extending love in your direction. What a challenging situation you're in, and holding you both in a blessing. If you're listening to the show and you've got the space, it would be nice to be able to interact with you and have a conversation. So if you can just push 1, it would be
listening on her computer.
Oh, okay. Well, one of the first things that comes to mind is that I don't know if you've been on a show where we've talked about the device called the Avicen. It's a heat therapy device, And one of the things that it does is that it mimics a fever. Basically, it's a device about the size of a bread box. You put your hand in it, you put a mitt on your hand, and you put the palm of your hand on a heat plate, and a vacuum forms around the hand, which brings extra blood into the hand and heats the blood and continues to circulate. The blood that is heated circulates into the body, and within about 10 minutes or so, the temperature of the blood throughout the whole body is raised by about 0.8 of a degree. And one of the things that they found in many cases with autism is that this changes autistic dynamics in the autistic child. And so I don't know if that's something that you might want to have a conversation about. Unfortunately, it's not an inexpensive device, although for a medical device and what it does, to me, it's one of the most amazing. It's the only medical device in the world that I know of that virtually everybody uses. It says, I love the side effects of my medical treatment. It's approved by the FDA for pain management and for muscle relaxation. Many people go into a calm down state and sleep when they put their hand in it, when they get the impact of that warming of the blood. And they've found that there's a significant impact with people with autism. And if Jeanie, if you would send an email back and give her my personal phone number, I'd be glad to have a conversation and see if there's a way to work something out that you might be able to get his hand in a machine. I would like to know, I understood in the early part of the email that you said he was nonverbal, and I'm not sure if that is still true, if he's still nonverbal. Jeanie, can you clarify that for me from the email?
It said that he was diagnosed when he was 2. He's now 13, and for the most part, he is nonverbal.
Okay. Well, that's about one of the biggest challenges I can imagine having of being able to maintain a connected space of love. It sounds like, the stresses that you have going on in your world are just extreme, even if he were a healthy young man. And one of the things we know is that when people become overwhelmed with stress, and you mentioned stressful situations, and I certainly hear they're very trying situations, and recognizing that stress is created when we set a goal. The functioning purpose of the mind is to carry out behaviors to assist us in achieving our goals. And each time that something happens that conflicts with the goal that we hold, the tendency is for our stress level to go up. And the core of forgiveness is the canceling of goals that allows the stress level to drop. And it sounds like even most of the most basic life goals of survival are right there in your face, and an extreme. I hesitate to call it an opportunity because it certainly is not a challenge that unfortunately anybody should have to deal with. So I breathe with you, and when you talk about damaging things and then the work that you have to do to replace them, it sounds ludicrous to say, well, cancel your goal for him to treat the remote in a way that keeps it functioning. But what will happen as you do that, and whether he cooperates or not, is it will help at least to lower your stress level, to look at each goal and right down to, if you've got a young man that's 13, and I know I've been in situations where especially a young boy is in extreme turmoil, and the strength that they have is just, I mean, I'm 6'1", and used to be a bodybuilder, not anymore, but I could handle myself, and I know that I've confronted and worked with young people, young men especially, in that situation, and how strong they can be is quite a challenge. One of the things aside from, and of course we've talked about the forgiveness process and managing your own stress is going to be beneficial to keep you out of your own power person dynamics, working through the power person dynamics. And it's like you're in one of the most extreme situations that anybody could be in, and the most challenging. I wonder if there's a way, if I don't know what state you're in, if there's any kind of support in the community that would assist you. I'm not particularly familiar with what kind of support systems there are for autistic children, especially those who are in that kind of extreme behavior. But I'm wondering if there's some sort of state support that you can turn to assist you. And engaging in, I'm certainly in a space of compassion, and it brings a little up for me. I'm certainly breathing personally right now, because thinking about your situation certainly arouses some goals that I would have for me, me personally being impacted by just thinking about you in that situation and how to support you. It's probably about one of the most challenging circumstances that I could think of, for someone living in this country, the kind of, security that we have here. And if it's possible to call in, it's kind of hard without a conversation to see if there are any more specific things that we could drill down on.
I think there's a hand up, and I've not seen the number before, so it may be her. Aaron,
I hope
this
so.
you?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hey, Karen.
Yes,
yeah, we
hi.
can hear you loud and clear.
Hey, good. I'm glad I figured that out. I couldn't figure out how to listen on my phone and then call in at the same time, but I just I got off online and dialed the phone number, and here I am. So
awesome. So tell me more about what's happening, and I mean,
well,
you're say again.
Can you hear me? Okay, am I cutting out?
Yes. No, you're loud and clear.
Okay, good. Okay, so my thing is, I'm going through this extreme challenge, but I know it's not just get through it and, hope someday he'll grow out of it and the hormones and things. This is why I was put on this earth, to see this boy through his autism challenge so that other families can have hope, because the community out there that has these challenges end up having to make difficult choices to their son and or daughter in alternative living situations, right. And that's not our gig. It's not. I'm 100% committed to doing the work to cancel out the generational junk in either one of our lives and everybody else's or whatever comes up. And that's why this forgiveness teaching is the missing link, because I do meditation 3 times a day and visualization and practice not reacting. And sometimes I have the most amazing days where he can just come at me and I'll grab him and I'll move the perfect way. It's like kind of a perfectly choreographed tango, and he's not hurt and I'm not hurt, and I'm full of love and my heart is bursting with joy. But sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, just stop already. Look what you're doing to our home, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm 100%, we're in Colorado, so it's very expensive here. So I have to hustle hard to pay the bills and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's not even all of the available services and everything. People move from across the country to move to Colorado for services. I don't know what they're talking about. Those services are not available for us. There are not, I can't get paid to be his caregiver because of some glitch and this. And every time we reach out for a social group for him, they don't have anything. They got a waiting list 3 years long. And every door to the autism community is closing in our faces. And it's like, it's just confirming to me we don't belong in this category. We need to move through it. You know what I mean? And it's a very touchy subject with a lot of people because they just think autism is a gift and all this other stuff. And that's wonderful, because autism is a huge spectrum, and there are different levels. But the level my son is at brings us such extreme limitations to our lives and our peace level and everything.
Right.
It's just not good for our brains. It's not good for the...
I hear you.
I
have great compassion and empathy for your situation right now, and wish there were a way we could reach out and have more of an impact. Have you looked at things from a nutritional point of view?
Yes. I have him on anti-inflammatory diet for the most part. He has very, very limited sugar, and I make, natural juices for him and everything, but that doesn't even seem to impact him. It's more of it comes out of nowhere. Like I said, between 3 and 4 a.m. is the time that a lot of his meltdowns happen. Because during the day he's extremely happy with school. He's got an excellent school placement and everything. He comes home, I just have to keep him well fed, because being hungry is a trigger, being too hot is a trigger, and it's been 95 degrees here in Colorado for the greater part of the summer, and we're finally getting a cool down the next couple days, so super thankful for that. But yeah, I don't know.
Let me understand. So when it's hot, he has more of a problem?
Oh yeah. I have to keep our house super cool, and we can't do anything outside. Like if we went to the fair and it was 95 degrees, he would last about 10 minutes, and then it's because. And one of the other mothers in another support group explained the other day that she understands it as his body doesn't know that anxiety, like heat in his body feels like anxiety. Excitement, overexcitement, overstimulation feels like anxiety. He can't partition, I'm just feeling a little warm. It feels like anxiety to him, because when he has a meltdown, he gets really hot and overheated. So, heat is a trigger for him. But I don't know how to remain peaceful at times when I'm woken up out of a sound sleep at 3 a.m. to screaming and pounding, and then be able to go in there and lovingly just, put him back. Like I need a one-liner kind of, just remember this. Like anything negative is not in love, and I understand that, and I accept that, and I get that, and it's in my heart. But when there's that screaming that goes right through me and like gives me chills out of a sound sleep, it's like getting tasered by and trying to remain loving.
Yeah, it sounds so extreme. You know, back to the sensitivity to heat, because one of the things, you know, I mentioned the avicin, and what the avicin does is it heats the blood. And what they're finding actually, and maybe your son is an anomaly, or the other kids who've been exposed, it's an anomaly, but what the research has shown is that a child that has autism with a fever tends to start to move more toward what would be called normal, away from the autism spectrum. And that's what they found with the avicin, is that by heating the blood. And I'm wondering if there's a difference. It's just, you know, I'll do some research. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with it beyond what, you know, pretty much beyond what I've shared. But I'm wondering if there is a difference between externally applied heat, you know, the temperature of the environment, and the heating of the blood, because they found, you know, one of the ways they discovered that the avicin was beneficial to people with autism was, or one of the parallels is that they found that just, have you ever noticed if he has a fever as opposed to being externally heated, if he has a fever, does his behavior change?
I was just thinking about that when you were talking about it. And no, he's had a fever before and he's perfectly calm. He doesn't flip out. So it has got to be an external temperature thing.
So then there's a difference between the internal and the external heat. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Had not thought of that before.
Right, yeah. I'm going to have to check that out, look to see if there are any anything around here in the community that has that device that we could come and trial or whatever before. Yeah.
Exactly. If you'll send me your address, if you'll email it, or Jeanie will send you my phone number and let's have a conversation, and I'll do some inquiry and see if there's anybody there that, you know, because if it's, I'm just, you know, racking my brain to see where the rationale is. Why, if heat is applied externally, it creates more agitation and is experienced as trauma. And yet when a fever occurs, he goes into calm. That's what they found with the avicin. You know, basically what the avicin does is it mimics a fever. And, you know, while the world says, oh, if you've got a fever, take some aspirin, get rid of your fever, that's horrible advice. It's horrendous advice. One, because aspirin is toxic, and two, the body's intelligent. It's creating a fever for a reason. It's a useful healing mechanism. And they've found, you know, as far as I know, consistently, is that the autistic, wherever people are on the spectrum, that they tend to move more toward a balance point with that mimicking of a fever, and that, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with that idea in the community, or if it's something that you're noticing, but when an autistic, as I understand it, an autistic person has fever, they tend to be more on the calm side and more balanced.
Definitely, yeah. That's been my experience with them in the past. Yep.
Well, you've opened a whole new realm of inquiry for me. I'll be doing some inquiry, and I'll see if there's somewhere there that that we can get you hooked up with someone to take him to try the device out.
That would be great.
Michael, Susan has raised her hand. She had texted me and asked how Karen's son was, and so she may have a comment. Susan, you're on the air with Karen.
Hey, hi Karen, and wow, I have a very good friend who had a son with autism, and they said he was so severe that she should institutionalize him. She refused. She's brilliant. She gave up her career to be his advocate. He is now a highly functioning 24-year-old, and I took care of him sometimes, and I took care of him once when he was sick and he had a fever. and he was normal. He was like a normal kid. And I said, what happened? And she said, well, that happens. But I wonder if you and she should be in touch. That would be great. Brilliant, brilliant woman. And I know she speaks with other parents of autistic kids and has learned a great deal, done a lot of research.
I'm getting goosebumps, Susan. Thank you.
Yeah,
well,
that would be fantastic.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just looking up her number.
Well, let's instead of doing that over the air, let's. I don't think we want to do that publicly, but Susan, I'll put. If it's okay with both of you ladies, I'll put you directly in touch.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much.
I'll give you phone numbers, but I'm now racking my naturopathic training and my naturopathic brain for what's the bottom line, what's going on here, and that physically applied temperature, external temperature, is increasing trauma where internal increase in temperature, such as with a fever, which is exactly what the avicen does. It mimics the fever and therefore puts the immune system on alert and creates healing impact.
That would be wonderful.
What I'm wondering, the impact, as a mom and Susan with your friend, maybe this can be a conversation that opens and brings a breakthrough somewhere along the lines. But I'm wondering if what the avicen does with its heat impact is it tends to open microcirculation, and I'm wondering with autism if there's a part of the brain where microcirculation has been shut down, a la sympathetic dominance, if there's sympathetic dominance involved, and that the heat, whether it's a fever or induced by the avicen, and what the other thing that happens when that blood temperature goes up, that 0.8 of a degree, is that I'll just wait till the show cuts us off, and if we get cut off, if you'd send your number or Jeannie's got it, we'll do a three-way call. But I'm wondering if the what the avicen does when that blood temperature gets up is the body shifts from sympathetic dominance into parasympathetic, which opens higher brain function. When one's in sympathetic dominant, basically fear, fight, flight, freeze, it cuts off, literally cuts off blood flow to the higher centers of the brain. And that's one of the things that the avicen does, is restores that higher center by moving people into, sympathetic or parasympathetic dominance and activating the vagus nerve. And so I'm wondering if it's to do with circulation too, and of course the frontal lobes is where the control center is, where behavior and all of those things exist.
Right.
So I'm just thinking what we can do with this to bring it to the autistic community and see who else we can enlist that might help us to understand this on a deeper level. And
that would be wonderful, because we've tried everything. We've tried supplements and minerals and B12 shots and everything out there. Changing the diet. Yeah.
Have you looked at the work that's being done in the brain-gut connection?
I have him on a Spire probiotic too.
Right. That was my next question. Was what are you doing with probiotics and gut health? I just actually sent Jeannie. I didn't have your number, but I sent Jeannie a link. I have a notification for a conference on or a workshop on gut-brain health, which I think is important in all kinds of mental disturbances, and it's it sounds like this is a shift into an extreme state of sympathetic dominance. which I've never thought of as applying to autism before, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
And have you looked into mechanisms for stimulating the vagus nerve?
No, because I've watched I had an Audible book on it, and then some other information. It got a little confusing to me. Like, they were talking about it, but they weren't actually giving a technique. So yeah, I'd be really interested in that also.
Right. Well, one technique. I mean, there's actually a device that Avison sells. It's a heart stress device, and it measures where somebody is on the scale of sympathetic to parasympathetic dominance, and most people move significantly after 30 minutes of putting their hand, I'm talking about just anybody, not someone with autism in particular, but their sympathetic dominance score shifts quite significantly in the direction of parasympathetic and stimulating the vagus nerve, and that's what opens up blood flow to the brain.
Wow.
And that's just got to be what's at the core of this.
Yeah, it's got to be. Yep. And I know Brandon is, after he has a meltdown, he's right back to his baseline loving, sweet self, and he'll touch me where he pinched me or hit me, or he'll touch the wall gently because he's sorry that he did. And he doesn't want to be, in that state of mind either.
Right.
So,
well, the core of sympathetic dominance is fear, and the whole thing sounds like a fear state, an extreme fear state. And of course, when people are in that kind of stressful fear, what are they going to do but lash out? I mean, that's pretty much the normal process. And does he have the cognitive ability? If you have a conversation with him about what he wants and goals, is he able to express in that regard?
No, he's still mostly nonverbal. He can answer yes or no questions, but if I said, "Hey, what'd you do at school today?" he'll look at me like, "What?" He's extremely intelligent, and he actually has a very great sense of humor also. He gets sarcasm and everything, but yeah, he does not have conversation. So that could be a huge basis of fear going on in his head, that he's got so much going on in his body and his head, and he can't express it, and it just
difficulty
overwhelms
to express.
him. Yeah.
So one of my thoughts is that you might take, and I'll send you some of the simple, or a copy of one of the simpler worksheets on forgiveness, and you might be able to verbally walk him through that and help him to build the brain cells to recognize that goals create stress, and when I suspect when it's under stress, that's when he would tend to move into that sympathetic dominant place.
Right.
And that perhaps he can, even if he's not verbally capable of it, that mentally he can begin to cancel the goals that tend to take him into that stress place. And again, one defaults to power person dynamics, one defaults under high levels of stress to the baseline behaviors. And so perhaps, if you can walk him through that, and do that in a way that's extremely repetitive, especially when he's in that gentle space, so that he can comprehend what's happening there. That might be a key for him to be able to cancel the goals that, his frustration level builds, and that just reinforces the cutting off of blood flow to the higher centers of the brain. I mean, when somebody's in fight and flight, you're in the jungle, a lion's chasing you, you don't need to figure out a calculus problem. You really don't need the frontal lobe of the brain. What you need blood flow to muscles to fight and run, and that's what sympathetic dominance is. And so if he can get to the point of weakening the goals that lead him to that higher pitch, that may help him to stay more in that parasympathetic state. Right. And in the parasympathetic state, I mean, everything works better. Rest, Now, I know sleep is usually a problem with autistic people, and so stress, being able to relieve that stress might help him to. Does he have a challenge with sleep? Well, you said he's 3 in the morning when he comes up with this.
When he gets up, it's always between 3 and 4 in the morning. But usually, since school wears him out, he sleeps really well. And Julia sent me that book, the book on the children's book about healing children, whatever.
Healing children. Okay, well, there's 7 levels of worksheets. That is what I was going to send you. So if you've got that book, go in and start looking at the first worksheet that Julie's written about there, and perhaps see if you can get him to comprehend that idea of connecting the goal with the stress level that takes him into that extreme behavior, because it sounds like he doesn't like it any more than you do.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And we go through I have him read the commitment, and I've explained it to him what capable means and what teachable means and stuff, and he gets it. And so we read that every day before school and also before bed at night. So that's very helpful too.
Sweet.
And
that's
I know
awesome.
he gets it, because when he gets to the last line and says, "I am love," he just beams with, he's just so happy. I am love. Like, he gets it. Like, he feels what he's reading. It's terrific.
That's awesome. Well, maybe if you can get to, and I don't know how much work you've done with the forgiveness process itself, but, the thing that drives all behavior is goals. And when stress, and the way to set stress in the mind is by setting goals. And so there may be internal goals that he's got that lead him to that level where when, the breaking point comes, it's just, that extreme behavior, and that maybe he can, if you do extreme repetitiveness with him and understanding to cancel the goal, he may be able to get some, locus of control internally with that. By being able to realize what his goals are, even though he can't verbally express them, and cancel them might be a way to drop his stress back and create some new levels of healing. And then with this lady that Susan has and the resources she's got, let's see what we can do. I'm on board with any support and assistance I can be.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys so much, and your sincerity and wanting to help people and stuff. I mean, I think it was a couple of radio shows ago that you said, "Let's do this together. If you need help, ask for it." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I just want to ask for it so bad."
Yeah, well, that's why we do the show,
Yeah.
Is to be here for support. That's the whole idea. And it's interesting that this has never happened before, because at on the hour mark, Blog Talk Radio cuts off our conversation automatically. We have no control over it. We're now 10 minutes over. It's never happened before.
Right.
So we're definitely getting a level of cooperation from the universe here to continue this conversation. I'm excited and delighted to be able to connect on this level, and it's just my brain is worrying. I've got some people I'll be checking in with to see if we can get another level of understanding of what's going on here, and that's awesome.
It's exciting. This is exciting.
And our hearts go out to you for the trauma that you've been put through, and I certainly acknowledge you as a mom and as a human being for saying, "I'm committed and I'm going to go through this, whatever it takes." That's just, amazing. Amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Julia has been there for me. I mean, I don't know how she does it. I just vent to her sometimes, and I know she's going through her own challenges and stuff, but I literally don't have anyone else to talk to about this. I've had friends tell me, "I can't be your friend anymore because your life is stressing me out so bad. I don't want to hear about it." And they weren't real friends, obviously, but Julia is, and she always comes back with, like last night, Brandon was having a really bad fit, and he said, and I said, "Oh, I just want to you're too big and you're too old to be throwing such a terrible temper tantrum. I know I'm talking to an autistic child, I know, but in the moment, I'm just like, stop.
Yeah.
And Julia spoke the truth in love to me, and she said, okay, Karen, but now who is really having the temper tantrum? Because there you are, you know. And I can accept it from her because she's a true friend, and she really loves me and wants to see us through this.
Right. Yeah. Well, we're on board with you on the same level.
I really appreciate that. I couldn't be happier right now that I feel like I have a tribe going.
Well, we're holding the space, and we'll do more inquiry, and I will see if you go ahead and Jeanie, I think, probably sent an email back to you, so my phone number will be there. She'll text me your address, and I'll do some checking right away on whether or not I need to be communicating. I'm actually on their medical board with Avison, and I've got something I need to communicate about anyway, so I'll ask and see if there's anybody out there that has a space to let you try a machine.
Okay,
and
great.
Susan
Thanks so much.
Susan contacted her friend. Her name's Lydia. And she said she would love to help, and she has many resources.
Absolutely.
So I'll be sending you Lydia's number and sending Lydia yours.
Oh, wonderful.
Awesome. And
Terrific.
If you keep us posted on progress and what I want to learn, I want to understand what this whole autistic thing is about. And I mean, it just like clicks for me. This has got to do with the centers of the brain that are being deprived of oxygen and nutrition.
Yes. Yes.
And as a result of stress. And so it's just putting together the fever and the fact that you confirm when he has a fever, he's calm. And when people have that induced fever or simulated fever through the Avison, that they tend to move into that same calmness, it's got to have to do with opening microcirculation to the brain. About a fifth of the blood flow of the body goes to the brain. And which is amazing when you think of the body weight of, say, somebody who's 150 pounds. You got 3 pounds of brain, and yet it's taking a fifth of the blood supply in order to keep the brain going. And it's got to have to do with that microcirculation and blood carrying oxygen nutrition into the brain. And the other function is that once it's dropped this load of oxygen nutrition, then it carries away wastes. And one of the byproducts of metabolism is carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide is an acidic gas. And if it's not being carried away, then you've got an acidic condition. And what happens with fluids that are acidic is they drive out oxygen. Acidic fluids don't carry or hold oxygen. It takes alkaline fluids to do that. And so if a part of the brain is becoming acidic, then it's having trouble getting oxygen. And, there's one other thing that comes into the conversation that I think about, and there is we'll send you a link to the product that we use. It's very inexpensive. Like a 2-pound tub of it is $38, and it's MCT oil powder. And what they're finding with people with, let's say, Alzheimer's, and I'm wondering if this kind of relates, if this is maybe a blood sugar problem. In Alzheimer's, there are actually physicians who are calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes. And the reason is because there isn't insulin in the brain. And without insulin in the brain, sugar can't get into the cell to feed the cell, to fuel the cell.
Wow.
And the short-chain fatty acids in MCT oil powder, and it's a very pleasant product to take and very inexpensive, the body can use it as fuel, the brain can use it as fuel without insulin. So it's very efficient at getting into the tissue and fueling the cell. I found that as a result of doing some research for my father-in-law, who had Alzheimer's and Alzheimer's dementia, and we saw him go from of a space where, like, one of the things that we did since we moved here to take care of him was dominoes was our morning game. We just played. That was just like a morning thing we do over breakfast. And he got to the point after having contracted COVID where he could hardly recognize us and certainly couldn't play dominoes. And within 2 weeks of getting him on the MCT oil powder, he was beating us at dominoes again at 87.
Wow.
So I'm wondering if MCT oil powder might, if this might involve blood sugar as well.
Okay,
and that's why the gut-brain connection would be so important.
Right.
So we're going to send you a link to the product we use. We buy it on Amazon. As I say, I think it's $38 for a 2-pound tub, and start slowly because it can be upsetting to the stomach if you take too much at first. I'm up to the point we use it prophylactically because we saw such an impact with Jeannie's dad. But I'm up to the point where I'll take maybe 2 tablespoons at a time. But you might start him with just a small amount, half a teaspoon, and work up and see if that makes any difference. I'm wondering, it's like a lot of things are going on right now that click, and I'm loving the fact that that Blog Talk Radio is letting us go on here. This is a first, like somebody's on our side here.
Right?
So,
that's awesome.
yeah.
Cool. All right,
cool.
great.